Welcome to Move the Stairs podcast. This is episode 102. We're recording on Monday, November 25th. We're happy you're here joining us for today's great conversation.
I got to ask you, have you ever thought about what it would be like to move to Paris and start a business? Doesn't that sound like a fabulous dream?
Yes.
Well, yes. Well, today we're excited to meet a woman who moved the stairs and made that dream a reality. For the past 13 years, Lindsey Larson has been the founder and photographer at Pictours Paris. And today she's going to take us on a journey to the City of Lights, where she has created a thriving business while raising her little girl. Lindsey, who started her career in PR, also understands the importance of brand protection PR for the success of any business.
So without further ado, we'd like to welcome Lindsey to the studio. Thank you so much for being here, a part of the Move the Stairs podcast today, joining us all the way from Paris, France. Tell us a little bit more about you and tell us a little bit more about your business, Pictours Paris.
Well, I guess I should start by saying bonjour. It's great to be here with all of you all today. This is my first podcast experience. But yes, so I'm happy to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from Colorado in the U.S., but I ended up marrying a French-American man. We moved to Paris right as newlyweds, and boom, we just started snowballing a life together here in France. And initially, I was teaching English like every American expat does, and I was training PR and advertising professionals. Didn't love it, wasn't my passion. But meanwhile, I was taking my camera around Paris, taking photos, and I just saw a lot of American couples getting engaged at the Eiffel Tower, and a lot of couples walking hand in hand in front of beautiful monuments. And the idea for Pictours Paris just came to me one day. And this was in 2011. So I just ran with the idea. This was before Instagram business bookings. So I used things like Craigslist and Facebook and reached out to Facebook groups of expats just looking for couples to photograph. I built a basic WordPress website, started using my PR skills, and contacted every travel blog in America to promote Pictours Paris and romantic photo shoots in the City of Love. And it just skyrocketed. It took off almost immediately.
Wow.
Within 6 months, I quit teaching English and have never looked back.
That's incredible. It just came to you one day. That's the best part. So you specialize in kind of shooting that moment when one person pops the question. A wonderful time in life. It's also a bit of a stressful time for the person popping the question, and things don't always go just right. How do you ensure they have a fantastic time and then you get that perfect shot?
I think because I'm relaxed about it, I'm not super stressed, so I can help the man or the woman proposing. I can absorb their stress and calm them down. I've been doing this for 13 years. It is my specialty, surprise proposals. And so with me, you've got nothing to worry about. I will tell you exactly where to stand. I will tell you not what to say, that's on you, but I will tell you where to stand and how to sort of angle towards the camera. And of course, I'm discreet in the background. And it's really just something I love doing, and I rarely ever have things go really wrong.
That's cool.
That is good to hear, because that is, as Mitch pointed out, it's a point in time where anxiety is a little high. I mean, the person popping the questions like, oh gosh, I hope it goes right. So I'm curious, Lindsey, you're based in Paris, but a lot of your clientele are from the United States. So how are they finding you, number one, and are you still finding yourself using similar means to reach them from when you started in business way back in the early 2010s to where you are right now in 2024?
That's a great question. So I would say my marketing technique has shifted dramatically, where in the beginning I utilized PR and grassroots outreach to just blanket all of America to get the word out. And I would walk to all the hotels in Paris and talk to their hotel concierges. So back in the day, I utilized grassroots marketing and, what I learned at university. But today, my website works for me. I invest in SEO.
Nice.
And you wouldn't believe the number of repeat customers and just word of mouth, recommendations. So almost every day on an intake form, when it says, "How did you hear about Pictours Paris?" They'll say, "You photographed my brother or my best friend or my mom, or you photographed me 10 years ago." So word of mouth and building customer loyalty is what is bringing me a lot of business today. And I love it. It's great to see people again after 10 years. I photographed their surprise proposal, and then they're here on their honeymoon and we do a honeymoon shoot. And then 5 years go by and they're here with their little toddler. And so you start to sort of, well, not with all of my clients, but with many, they come back to you and you just build a friendship and have sort of this ongoing story of their life in Paris or their time in Paris.
Lindsey, you talk about word of mouth PR and about customer loyalty, which is really one of the pillars of brand PR. Did you know that it was going to be so important for your business when you first started?
Not exactly. To be honest, I thought that my clientele was a one-time client. For many people, it is, because you can't, for a lot of people, they're on travel budgets. You can't, Paris is a once in a lifetime destination. So I tried to just get as many one-time clients as possible. But lo and behold, over the years, you start to get those repeat clients and all of those recommendations to their family and friends. So I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and I love it. And I really, truly feel a deep connection and a close connection to all of these clients who are saying, "I don't think you remember us, but," and I say, "Of course I did. Come back. I can't wait." That's great.
That is good. When I was in television, every time I tried to shoot an interview outside, beautiful landscape, cityscape in the background, a lawnmower started up, helicopter went overhead, sprinklers went off, a bus goes by. You take extra care to make sure that shot's just so, but there's only so much you can control in your environment. And that makes me think about a small business owner. You have to be nimble. So how do you go about it to make sure that you can pivot really quickly and then the client is satisfied?
Well, pivoting is my middle name because every day in Paris, there's a strike. There is a closure at a monument for Fashion Week. There is, you name it, there's an accident. And so sirens are blaring. And so I rest in very close communication with my clients, and I communicate that anything can happen. Maybe there's a marathon that's going to be running across us and we can't get across this race, and that's happened. And so we have to be connected on our cell phones via WhatsApp and just be open to pivoting and having a plan B. And I can always recommend a beautiful, wonderful plan B. And calmness is key. Communication is key. And at the end of the day, we're going to make it work, and it's going to beat your expectations, and plan B will be the perfect plan.
Lindsey, as a PR pro, I know you're, no longer practicing PR, but you kind of are as a business owner, right? It never goes away. Just like our television skills never go away. You understand the power of earned media, and, being featured in CN Traveler as one of the top 15 things to do in Paris with kids is a huge accomplishment. I mean, bravo. That's really, really great.
Thank you.
How did you work to earn that placement? Or did they reach out to you from some of the work that you were doing with SEO and web, and maybe some of the word of mouth that you've been working to build with your customer base? How did that all come together?
So it actually came together through an expat friend of mine, a New Yorker who's been living in Paris for decades, and she's a freelance writer. So she also randomly created a treasure hunts at the Louvre for kids. which she was one of the first ever to do treasure hunts at the Louvre. And it was at the same time I was building Pictours. So we were just, friends. We've been friends for years. And she came to me and she said, Condé Nast is, looking for me to contribute to this article. And I photographed her family before, and she loved the experience. And so I was all about it. And so maybe just our mutual expat relationship helped her think of me when that project came to her lap. And then it came to me. And that article first launched years ago, but they keep re-promoting it. And so it's really been a successful article for my business. It's been great.
That's great.
And I truly love family photography. It's so fun to capture a family and little kids with tantrums or running through the Tuileries and falling in the mud. Not every picture has to be perfect. It's chaotic when you're traveling with kids in Paris, and also really special.
Yeah, you're capturing that moment there. That's awesome. When you were in PR, you did a lot what we do, and that is help prep other people for interviews. But here with Condé Nast, when that interview, the tables are turned here a bit. You were in the hot seat. Are there any takeaways, any insights that you could give to another small business owner about being interviewed and how you conveyed your message about your passion for this work?
Well, I think if you're passionate about your work, it will come off as truly authentic. And what it is, it's your passion, but it's also your business, and it means the world to you, and you want to share it with the world. So it's maybe a hard question to answer, because for me, authenticity will speak volumes. Just be yourself. And if you're truly passionate about the business you're building, or the business you're envisioning, or the business you've been running, it will shine and people will see that.
Lindsey, I think that passion shows forth on your social media, and you have thousands of viewers on a number of platforms. I wonder if you have a particular platform you use for particular types of pictures to reach a particular audience, because I know how intentional you are. And so I thought, wow, I bet she's got a strategy here.
My strategy, you might not like it. My strategy, my strategy is post only as often as you need to. Social media is a full-time job for many content creators, and even a lot of my competitors in Paris who are newer than me. They're much more active on social media, and I do the bare minimum, but I do it with, how do I say this? When I do a post, I put a lot of time and effort into it. But I would rather be communicating with people booking me and planning the perfect proposal, planning the perfect photo shoot. I would rather be spending time with my daughter. I would much rather be out on photo shoots than glued to social media. So I don't know. I think in your world today, social media is such a very important, big part of building a business. I think I'm lucky because I built my business so many years ago and it works for me. So I don't know if that helps you at all, but I'm not super active on Instagram or Facebook or anything else at all. But everything just works for me, and I'm happy with that.
Well, I think that you've been around for 13 years. So you even made it through COVID, and you were able to keep your business, which is amazing when nobody was traveling and all the things were going on. So you must have built some resiliency into your plan. I'm wondering if you have a favorite story about a challenge that you had and how you moved the stairs and turned it into a positive situation.
Well, I could say during COVID was an obvious, huge challenge of closed borders.
Yeah.
And so I went from having a healthy income to having no income. And well, this is boring also because there's nothing to do. I can't leave my house. And so I pivoted. I moved the stairs during COVID, and I created what I called unfiltered, and it was documenting families in Paris, just like a day in the life. So
Mhm.
unfiltered, unposed. And I started going masked into homes and apartments of people living in Paris and just capturing them baking and playing with their kids. And I got some really beautiful work out of that. Um, and now and even those clients now contact me for continued work and things like that. Um, and then also a big challenge of life in Paris as an American, as an expat, is you learn to move those stairs all the time for administrative issues. Like you wouldn't believe how impossible it is to update your ID card or get a bank account. So over the years, I have these staircases that are impossible to climb, but I just move them constantly, turn them upside down, throw them away, build my own stairs, and make it work. Life is not easy as an expat in France, but you have to just take it with a grain of salt, with a sense of humor and a whole lot of patience, and figure something else out.
I love that. That's great.
I do too. I'm just, thinking about how difficult it is to start a business in the United States. I cannot imagine doing it abroad, France or anywhere else, for that matter. So, Lindsey, when you moved across the Atlantic, and you're settling into France, what are the things that you're thinking about? How are you forecasting for challenges that you're going to face? How are you preparing for those challenges? Or is it one of those things where there's literally so much to forecast and prepare for, you're just kind of taking it in stride? Can you give us an example of maybe it's your updating the bank account information or the ID cards where you literally had to move the stairs to position yourself so that your business would survive in spite of those challenges?
Well, yes. A major example was before we moved to Paris, we
Mhm.
had just gotten married in Colorado, and there's no French consular in Colorado. So it's connected to the French consular in California. So I booked a flight to LA and had an appointment to get my spousal visa so that I could legally move to France and live here beyond the 90-day tourist visa allowance. So I go to LA, I meet with the consular, I submit all of my documentation, and I'm missing one document.
Oh.
Yes, from my French in-laws. And so they sent me home back to Colorado, and she said, if I were you, I would not move to Paris. You'll be living there illegally. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I was in tears. I didn't know what to do. Should we cancel our flights? We have a lease. And I moved to France, and I hustled and I applied for this one document that I needed. And at about day 85 out of my 90 days of being allowed to be here as a tourist, I flew to LA, resubmitted the documents, got the stamp of approval, and was like, okay, now I can live in France. But that was such a crazy mistake, but it all worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
85 out of 90. Goodness.
I'm going to write down
Yeah.
determination. That's one of the keys, right?
Yes.
You mentioned a bit ago you were almost apologetic about how the frequency in which you post on social, but I think that the key for me, what you had to say is, yes, if you're an influencer, you need to be doing it all the time.
Mhm.
But as a small business owner, what it sounds like to me is you post with intention.
Yep.
And by that, I mean, some people post because, I better do something. And they're them drinking a cup of coffee. Who cares? So it sounds to me like you're going to post when it feels right and when you have something to share. Am I onto something there?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And to be honest, I think if I wanted to be an influencer, I could run around Paris all day. Oh, here I am, having a cafe on a terrace. Here I am having a crepe. I probably could do it if I wanted to, but that's not at all what I want to do. I want to do what I love, and that's photographing couples and families. So yes, I'm very intentional with the photos that I share. I want to share love and romance that abounds in Paris for families, for couples. And I don't share even a big chunk of the work I do photograph because I don't have the time. Maybe one day I'll have a big exposition in Paris, or I'll make a romance in Paris coffee table book and share even more. But for me, I just don't see the importance of being glued to social media.
Yeah, you're focused on the client, which is important. Okay, somebody's watching or listening to this, they're thinking, oh, I need to do this. How do folks find out more about Pictours Paris? Where would you send them?
Instagram or my website, which is pictoursparis.com. And yeah, those are the two main avenues of where I share my work. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Yelp, I'm on TripAdvisor, I'm on Google. So if people are curious about how I work and want to read reviews from my customers, go to those types of sites to see all of that. But otherwise, yeah, send me an email via my contact form on my website or via Instagram.
Great. So it's Pictours Paris. Pictours Paris. Wonderful.
Yes, and it's a word I made up in my sleep. I was falling asleep in 2011 thinking, okay, what am I going to name my business? And Pictours came to me because I'm touring people around the city to the Musée du Louvre, the Tour Eiffel. We're walking along the Seine riverbank. And so they're discovering Paris with me as I take their portrait. So it was kind of just the perfect play on words, Pictours Paris.
I love
it. Thank you.
Well, I just think you just did a fabulous job. Thank you so much, Lindsey. That was a great conversation with you about how you really use brand protection PR because you've thought about the 3 pillars, whether it was customer loyalty or how to use media, whether it's social media or traditional media. And then, of course, as always, that resiliency and I do think determination comes in there as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I had such a pleasure. It was so great and fun. And yeah.
We'll have you back again. So thanks so much, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was a fun conversation. Seeing and, hearing about Lindsey's journey from where she started, first of all, in 2011 to where we are in 2024. My first thought was, how much has changed in that time frame, but also how much has stayed the same. In that word of mouth can still be so powerful, and to develop, that level of customer loyalty to showcase a service that you offer and have it be so impactful that somebody comes back to you time and time again for other, photographs and other instances of how they might use her service was really impactful for me. I think she's doing a really wonderful job here, back then and now in leveraging that very powerful tool to drive, additional customer loyalty.
It's all about that experience that really made that customer loyalty for her and that retention that she didn't even know she was going to have, which I love that.
Yeah.
And then, how she decided and prioritized what really was going to make a difference for her. When everybody is touting social media all the time, she uses it, but she uses it with intentionality. And then being available and making the connections so that she got that amazing article in Sia and Traveler. I mean, you can't beat that. Certainly bolsters her brand protection and how she's working with media. And she's very smart about how she's going about it.
Yeah. I love the authenticity she mentioned when she was talking with the media and just talking about the ups and downs, right? Yeah. Sometimes when we advise clients, we say, well, tell them when you hit a roadblock. Well, that sounds like a mistake. Not at all. It shows how smart you are, how fast you can pivot, how determined you are to make a good product or service and please the customer. And that determination goes right into that building a resilient brand. There were a lot of hurdles, as you might imagine, for the small business owner, but she stayed determined, stayed focused, and was patient. That's key. It's not going to happen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're done. And look at the business she has built. It's fantastic.
I have to say, I loved it when she said, sometimes I had to throw away the stairs or build my own. I just love that. I'm like, oh, I'm using that. That was very good. So.
Yeah. You gotta do what it takes, man. Yeah.
In 102 episodes, I don't know that we've ever had anybody say that. So, like, I agree. It was fantastic to hear. So, thank you again to our special guest, Lindsey Larson from Pictours Paris, for joining us on today's episode of the Move the Stairs podcast. And thank you all so much for listening and for watching. And we hope that you join us again soon for our next all new episode of the Move the Stairs podcast.